Well, hello and welcome to another episode from the Water's Edge. Today you catch up with us at the Old Stables Lake in North Walsham. Now it's a brilliant mixed fishery. It's a venue I've fished quite a bit in the past. My mate Keith has let us fish it today. The conditions are pretty cold. I mean, it's the start of January, so the plan of action is going to be pretty much fish for anything that swims. I've got my gear set up just down the peg, so we're going to go and start the session. We'll catch up with you in a bit. Okay, we're almost ready to start the session. First thing we're going to do before we get going is just talk you through the bait for today. Now, as I said, there is everything in here, ranging from roach, a few skimmers, crucians, big carp. There really is everything. It's one of these venues when your float goes under, you don't quite know what you're going to get. Now, with that in mind, it's cold. We're going to go try the natural route. I think that's the way to go this time of year. Try and get away from the man-made commercial baits. Anyway, what I've got with me, I've got some maggots for the hook. Always great this time of year for a switch to. The main thing I'm going to be using is chopped worm and caster. Now, a lot of the time this can be a real expensive way to fish, so what I'm going to show you is how to bulk it out a little bit and make it a little bit cheaper. First thing we're going to do, in the tub here already I've just got a bit of molehill soil. Now, you could normally use ground bait in the summer, but in the colder months I don't really like the strong flavours that ground bait sometimes hold, so that's just molehill soil in there. What I'm now going to do is just riddle this mud off these worms, because there's a few bits of cardboard in that in there you don't want. Now, I'm not going to use all of these. I'm just going to take just a handful. You don't need much bait this time of year, so that's going to go in with those. Then on top of that, I've got a pint of casters. Again, it's pretty much a bulking agent. A couple of good pinch of those in there. And one thing I am going to do is quickly, just a few grains of corn. Now, I know these aren't natural, but all that is for is a bit of visual in your swim. Now, last thing to do, I've got some liquid worm. Again, it's much cheaper than chopping up loads and loads of worms, and you're getting the same stimulant flavours. So what, with a big squirt of that in there, it's a nice red colour, and what that does is when that mixes in with the soil and the chopped worms, creates a real nice trail of it going down the water. The last thing to do is give it all a real good chop together, and it does come out like a real big sloppy mess when it's finished. But if you're a fish not particularly hungry, that is going to be pretty appealing to you. Anyway, let's go and have a look at the rig and we'll get fishing. Well, we're almost ready to start the session. All my bait's there, seen me put earlier, a few worms of hook bait. What I'll do is I'll just quickly drop a bit of this mush you saw me preparing the edge, and you'll see what sort of a cloud and effect that's going to create when we get in the swim fishing. Last thing to look at will be the rig, so we'll start with that. Now, as I said, when your float goes under, you're not too sure what it's going to be, so with that in mind, we can't go too light with the rigs, but we like to be on the lightest side we possibly can to try and get bites in these hard conditions. So we're starting off with a 20 hook. That then comes down to a 0.10 bottom, shotted with a bulk of number 8 and 2 droppers. Nice simple shotting pattern. It's on 0.12 is the actual main line, which then comes down to a 0.6 of a gram float. Now, it's about 5 foot deep here, and as a general rule you do use a 0.1 gram per foot of water, but it's a little bit windy, so that extra 0.1 gram should get me that stability. The elastic is 5/5. Again, it's got a puller bung in the other end, so it'll be perfect for the roach with smaller fish. But if we do hook into one of the bigger residents in here, we'll be able to get that out as well. Anyway, that's enough of the talk in the rigs. I think it's time to cup a bit of that bait in the swim, and then we'll see if we can have a few fish on the bank. Cupping that out to start with. I'm going to do quite a big pot. I mean, I probably won't be feeding over top of this for a while, just to see how this pot, see how they react to it. So all that slots in one. Grab the pole. I'll pick the marker on the far side. That's what we're going to be fishing to. So point to your marker. It's just a case the bent in that right on where you're going to be fishing. And that's pretty much it. Let's get fishing. Right, we're going to start on worm. We're going to put maybe sort of half a worm on, just something a little bit bigger than the mussel chopped out for them to get their heads down on. Just nip the tail off, that can go back in there, we'll use it later. You just got a little worm head on the end there. Should be nice and appealing to pretty much anything. Let's get back out of the fish. Right, we're just going to skip onto the pot where we chuck the worms in. Keep it all nice and neat, down the same line. Lower your rigging nice and slow as well. If you just dump it all in at once, you do create tangles, so follow your bait down and that's settled there lovely. One thing to mention when fishing worm is when you're fishing pellet you plumb up dead depth, but worm is a little bit different. I'd advise laying an inch, maybe 2 inches on the deck. I mean, you do get a lot of funny bites of worms that you don't want to be striking at. Worm is really positive. So if you lay that little bit on the deck, when that float goes under, you can be pretty confident there's going to be a fish on the other end. Getting a few knocks now. Just going to wait for the float to go completely under before I strike. Some of the real smaller fish can't always get it in. Missed the bite there. Shows there is a few fish on the swim, quickly attracted to that worm though, which is good news. And there's the first fish. Great bite. I don't think it's very big, but normally you do start off with a small fish. He's actually very, very tight. All like that, the worm's almost bigger than him. As I said though, I think we'll get a few of these smaller fish first. Hopefully we'll get some bigger fish later. Just nip another worm on and we'll get back out there. There's another fish. A little bit bigger than the first one. Probably another roach, I would say. Yeah, it's a nice roach. Worm just hanging out the side of his mouth there. One thing I have noticed straight away is how bitterly cold these fish are. Water can't be much below, actually probably getting a bit of ice on it, but still a few little fish like this willing to feed. Let's get back out there again. Hopefully have a few more of them. Nip another worm head on. Get back out there.